Welcome back to our Workbench series, video 2. We're going to start building the carcass, so all of the skeleton below the work surface itself. So we'll go back to the design that we're working from, and you'll see that our carcass is actually made of horizontal components and then the vertical leg components. We're going to glue them together independently, so the horizontals glued together, then the verticals glued together, and then once they're all dry, we will redress them and we will complete the joinery, clean up those joints, and then glue them together into the entire form. So you'll see here on the design that our vertical component corresponds with these two pieces here. Right now they're independent, but we need to join them together. If you had a lot of timber, you could just join these as full pieces, but to avoid waste, I just removed that section that I'm going to cut out anyway, and I've made sure that I've left a little bit extra. I haven't done any of these measurements absolutely exact because when I redress this timber to remove the glued surfaces, it's going to get slightly smaller, which means all of our measurements will change slightly. So I've left myself some fat that I can cut away there, and essentially I'm going to be treating these as full solid pieces of lumber. If you have really thick pieces of timber, you don't need to be going through this process. This piece here corresponds with our leg. So again, I've got some timber removed at the top there for where that lap joint is going to be. You can see that on the diagram here as well. And you'll also see that this tape that I've got on here, that is going to prevent a whole bunch of glue sitting on the surface that I'm going to cut away and clean up to form our secondary lap joint. So you'll see that that corresponds with the notch on the leg on the diagram as well. Once they're glued up and they've dried, we will run them over the jointer to get really nice parallel edges, jointer and then the thicknesser. That'll probably bring the width down to, it's currently at 145, it'll probably go down to about 140 once I've done that. And then from there we can go back, remeasure and precisely cut all of our joinery. We'll use, I'll show you a couple of methods to do that. But let's start by just gluing this up. I'm not going to use any biscuits or dominoes or anything to glue this up. There's a whole bunch of really good glue surface. These are dressed well, they're really clean. So the only reason you would want to use biscuits or something like that is purely for alignment and not for strength. I'm going to try and put the glue on a little more sparingly than usual because I just don't want a ton of glue to go everywhere, especially over these lap joints that I'm going to have to clean up later. I'm going to get stuck into this. I'm going to put some cardboard down on the bench to protect this fairly fresh Armour Tools portable bench that I'm using while I'm trying to make this workbench, and we'll get stuck into it. I'm going to get gluing. I've got my glue bot, Torquata parallel clamps. I'm just going to use 2 for most of these pieces. They're really flat and they're not going to require a whole bunch of force to pull them together, and there's just tons of glue surface area, so it's going to be fine. Got a scraper here, which is just a little plastic card. You could use a little roller or something. It just helps me spread it over these big surfaces. With these pieces, because they're different lengths, I've got a center reference line on both of them, rather than referencing from one end. In this case, for these horizontal components, I'm referencing from the center, and then when I'm trimming that down to size in the joinery, I'll be kind of cutting from both ends and trimming up those join faces. I've done the cross pieces, now I'm going to do the legs. With these ones, I'm actually lining them up at the bottom, not in the center, because I've referenced the height of where that lower rail is at 150 mil off the bottom. So I may still end up trimming a fraction off the bottom of each leg, but that's where I'm lining it up right now. Otherwise the process is identical.